The Monster of Florence, Italy's darkest obsession. For nearly 2 decades, an unseen predator hunted in the moonlit hills of Florence. Couples went out for a romantic night and never came home. When the police arrived, they always found the same horrifying scene: a car in the dark, a man shot, a woman mutilated, and a trail that led nowhere. They called him Il Mostro di Firenze, the Monster of Florence, a name that would stain Italy's soul and ignite one of the longest and most twisted manhunts in European history. This is Trial and Terror. It began in August 1968, in a quiet olive grove near the Tuscan village of Signa. A couple, Antonio Lo Bianco and Barbara Lacci, were found shot to death in their car. Next to them, Barbara's 6-year-old son, asleep in the back seat, had somehow survived. The killer had vanished without a trace. At the time, police suspected Barbara's husband, Stefano Mele, a jealous man with a history of violence. He confessed under pressure, saying he killed the lovers in a fit of rage. He went to prison, and that should have been the end of it. But it wasn't. Because 12 years later, in 1981, it happened again. On June 6, 1981, 2 young lovers, Giovanni Foggi and Carmela Danuccio, parked their car in the countryside near Scandicci, outside Florence. The next morning, their bodies were found. Giovanni had been shot in the head. Carmela's body was mutilated with surgical precision. The bullets were identical in caliber and brand to those used in 1968.22 caliber Winchester Series H. That's when investigators realized something chilling. The 1968 killings weren't an isolated act of jealousy. They were the beginning of a serial murder spree that had been dormant for over a decade. And now, the monster was awake again. Throughout the 1980s, the murders continued. Always the same pattern. A couple, parked in a secluded spot near Florence, killed with a .22 caliber pistol. The woman, desecrated post-mortem. The killings struck almost every summer: 1981, 1982, 1983, 1984, 1985. The monster hunted like clockwork. Each time the city exhaled, he returned. Florence, the city of art, beauty, and romance, became a place of fear. Young lovers stopped going out at night. Parents warned their children to stay away from the hills. And police patrols began combing through vineyards and forests after sunset. But despite the massive effort, the monster always struck again. The investigation quickly spiraled into chaos. Hundreds of suspects were questioned. More than 100,000 bullets were test-fired. But nothing matched. Theories multiplied. Was the monster a surgeon? A butcher? A police officer? Was it one killer, or a satanic cult performing rituals? In 1984, investigators focused on a farmer named Pietro Pacciani, a violent man with a criminal past who lived near several crime scenes. Pacciani fit the public image of a monster. He was crude, angry, and had once killed a man in a jealous rage. When police searched his home, they found knives, pornographic photos, and suspicious items, but no gun and no forensic evidence linking him to the crimes. Still, the public was desperate for a face. In 1993, after years of fear, Pacciani was arrested. The trial was a media circus. Reporters swarmed the courthouse. The prosecution painted Pacciani as a twisted killer who hunted lovers for pleasure. The defense argued there was no proof. In 1994, Pacciani was found guilty of all murders and sentenced to life in prison. Florence finally breathed. For the first time in decades, people believed the nightmare was over. But then, everything unraveled. A year later, Italy's Supreme Court overturned the conviction, citing lack of evidence. The case was reopened. And before Pacciani could be retried, he was found dead in his home, naked, face down, on the floor. Heart attack, they said. But others whispered, murder. After Pacciani's death, investigators turned to his 2 supposed accomplices, Mario Vanni and Giancarlo Lotti, 2 simple men known locally as the Compagni di Merende, the snack companions. They confessed to helping Pacciani, describing lurid scenes of murder and mutilation. But their confessions were incoherent, inconsistent, and seemed coached. Lotti had a low IQ and was easily manipulated. Many believed the police had created a story to close the case, rather than solving it. The public's faith in justice, already fragile, collapsed. Meanwhile, a new theory emerged: that the monster killings were ritualistic murders linked to a powerful underground network, politicians, doctors, and Freemasons who paid for souvenirs from the victims. No proof ever surfaced, but the idea haunted Italy for years. Between 1968 and 1985, 8 double murders were officially attributed to the Monster of Florence. 16 lives destroyed. No one was ever definitively convicted. No gun ever found. The case became a mirror reflecting the fears of an entire nation: fear of the unknown, of hidden evil beneath the surface of everyday life. Decades later, the monster still looms in Italian culture. Books, films, and documentaries continue to explore the case. Even American author Douglas Preston, while living in Italy, investigated the murders, only to find himself accused of obstructing justice by Italian authorities. His book, The Monster of Florence, would later inspire elements of The Silence of the Lambs and Hannibal. Today, the farmhouse where Pacciani once lived stands silent. Overgrown with weeds, the walls are crumbling. But locals swear that when the wind blows just right, you can still hear the echoes of the past. The sound of gunfire, and the whisper of a name. Il Mostro. This was the Monster of Florence, Italy's most haunting unsolved mystery. A story not just about murder, but about obsession, corruption, and the darkness that hides behind beauty. This is Trial and Terror. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe as we uncover the darkest crimes and coldest mysteries the world has ever known. Until next time, stay curious, stay cautious, and remember, justice begins with truth.